Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. Sorry for the lengthy delay for this next review. I never got a chance to get around to this album review for Halsey's The Great Impersonator album that I got a chance to check out for myself for this hour and 6 minute album to let you know my thoughts on this record overall. So I'm going to discuss what I listened to for the 18 songs on this record by Halsey, The Great Impersonator, her new record, and let you know my thoughts on this album overall. So let's dive into this album review now. With what I've seen with this album, what I've listened to with this album, I meant to say, I'm still thinking it's a movie review, so please forgive me if I mistakenly thought if it was a movie review. But to continue where I left off, I think to start it off, Only Living Girl in LA was crap. I was not a fan of this song. Just Halsey's vocal potential kind of squandered. It just wasn't that great. It's the falsetto that kind of really bothered me with this track. And it's just her vocals were too cracked up and not really sounding great. Like, it sounds like a dying donkey in a way singing. And it's not really a good sound, to be honest. I don't know how to describe it. That's how the only perfect way to describe it, but it may come off as an insult, and it's not meant to come off as an insult, and if you take it personally, then okay, whatever. But other than that, Only Living Girl in LA was the worst track on this record, so 2 out of 5. Ego was probably the only strong song on this album. One of the strong tracks on this record. I really enjoyed Halsey's vocals on this one. At least the sequel to the opening track was pretty good. The second song, the continuation to the record, was probably the best track on majority of this album. So 4.75 out of 5 for Ego. I did enjoy this track, and it did have some good moments with the drum work and Halsey's vocals sounding pretty good. So, yeah. Dog Years was kind of a little mediocre. I mean, it took me a little bit to get used to this track. I had to give it a few more listens, but other than that, it's a 3.75 out of 5 for this one. It's not terrible, but it's not great. Letter to God 1974 is like an interlude track, and it's average for what it is. Not one of my favorite songs, to be honest, but for a interlude track, it's solid. So 3.5 out of 5 for this one. Panic Attack actually was mediocre too. I didn't hate some moments in this track, but I felt that the melody kind of was structured poorly in this track. And just the way Halsey's singing it from time to time doesn't execute too well as I thought it would. So 3.75 out of 5. The End is another mediocre track. I never listened to it as a single, but I remember maybe giving a little snippet of it, getting a little snippet out of this track, and I wasn't that impressed, but I wasn't hating it. So 3.75 out of 5. I Believe in Magic is another 3.75 out of 5. I think Halsey's vocals, it does good, and it then kind of dies down and sounds iffy. So overall, it's an alright track. It's not one of my favorites, but it's alright. 3.75 out of 5. Letter to God 1983 did have some good vocals from time to time from Halsey singing live in this track and performing this song live. So it wasn't that bad for how it sounded. Sorry, my nose is congested a little bit. But overall, 3.75 out of 5 for Letter to God. It was structured alright, but it was mediocre at best. Hometown is a kind of meh track, if I'm being honest. I'm not really that much of a fan of this track. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I'm in the middle with this one. Like, there were times where I think Halsey's vocals didn't execute too well with her southern twang with this song. But execution-wise, I think the song is meh. 3 out of 5. I Never Loved You is one of the most boring songs I've listened to, and it is a single, by the way. And that's sad that it's the last single before the record came out. It is a disappointing song, and as a single as a whole, it's disappointing too. The melody is boring, the way Halsey's singing it from time to time, it sounds stale, and it just didn't execute too well. 2.75 out of 5. Darwinism is another boring track that I just couldn't connect with too much. I think Halsey's vocals kind of squanders in some areas in the track. Just when the verses come in, it just makes me want to go to sleep. So basically, this is a 2.75 out of 5 for Darwinism. Lonely is the Muse. Actually was a good track. I was a little impressed with Halsey in this one. At least she stepped it up. This is a step in the right direction with this song. But we'll continue with the rest of the record as I progress through the rest of the songs on this record. But overall, Lonely is the Muse is a 4.5 out of 5. It's a good track, but there are a few critiques I have with this. With the way the verses and some of the chorus sounds, with Halsey singing the lyrics and all that. But execution-wise, it's good for what it is. So it's something worth listening to. Arsonist is kind of meh. I'm not really much of a fan of this one, but I'm feeling an okay rating of a 3.25 out of 5. It's between okay and meh, but the okay side to it is what makes the song pick up, meaning that some of the verses sound alright, but the chorus kind of just gets repetitious a bit. So, yeah. Life of the Spider, Draft. Mediocre track. Halsey kind of sounded very vulnerable in this track and emotional in this song. And it's not terrible. I wouldn't say it's one of the worst tracks on the record, but it is kind of mediocre. So 3.75 out of 5. Hurt Feelings is a 4.25 out of 5 for this one. I think there are moments where I think it's above average, but it's not above decent, I meant to say. But it's not one of the best tracks I've listened to as I progress through this record. So 4.25 out of 5. Lucky sounds really cringy, to be honest. It's not one of my favorite tracks. When I first heard it, I was like, which I just recently heard. I think I heard this song as a single when it came out, and I was highly disappointed with this song. Highly disappointed with this song. And I'm just disappointed with most of this record, to be honest. So, 2.75 out of 5. Letter to God is a 1998, is the final interlude track before you get to the title track, which is the last song. But overall, it's good for what it is. 4.5 out of 5 for this interlude track. It did sound pretty good with Halsey's vocals and the way she was singing it lyric-wise and how it was structured. It played out fairly well. And then finally, The Great Impersonator. What do I think of this track? No. It is one of the weirdest, boring songs and not really did anything for me. This song did nothing for me. It didn't make me feel like I was connecting with this track. It was a big disconnect with the kind of thing. It just, what the fuck is that, Halsey? What the thing is that supposed to do? Is it supposed to be interesting to make it appealing for listeners to enjoy the song? Because this is not an enjoyable track. This is a dull track. And this is just plain cringiness and garbage. So 2.75 out of 5. Overall, production, mixing, and execution-wise, I found myself really disliking this Halsey record. I don't understand why this is a widespread critical acclaimed record. And it's saying, oh, 87 out of 100 or 9 out of 10. It's like, those opinions are wrong, to be honest. And 2, this record is not worthy enough to be in the best albums of 2024. This is going to be on the worst albums of 2024. Because there are only 2 tracks I could probably come back to for this record. And that is Lonely is the Muse and Ego. And I guess you could throw in Hurt Feelings as well. As a side song to basically say, it's fine. But everything else is kind of mediocre, average, or okay and meh, and very disappointing. So I'm very disappointed with Halsey on this follow-up record to the last record. If I can't have love, I want power, or whatever that album's name was back in 2021. But it had the I'm not a woman, I'm a god. I think that record was better than this piece of shit. Because if I'm feeling for a score, a 5 out of 10 is overdue for the score of the record. Is overdue for this record's overall score. It is that bad. I'm just not happy with this record. I am not satisfied. I'm bored as hell with the record and some of the melody structures of this album. Don't do it for me. So, 5 out of 10 for Halsey, the Great Impersonator. I am so disappointed with Halsey on this one. I hope she can make a better one next time around, or next go around, but we'll just wait and see. Because I don't hate Halsey with her vocals, it's just, this album was a little too try-hard with the mellow tracks. I was not wanting a mellow record from her, but I guess that's what we were getting, and it's not good. It is not sounding very good. So, I was kind of a little ranty-ish on this review, but I just felt nothing for this album. So, I felt bored. And I almost actually went to sleep for this record, if I'm being honest with you. So, 5 out of 10 for Halsey, the Great Impersonator. Thanks for watching this album review tonight, and I should return to you for more reviews soon. So I'll see you in the next review.